All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are cracking open a massive new report from Goldman Sachs. And it's all about a company that could be right at the center of China's AI ambitions. We're going to deconstruct their entire analysis piece by piece to figure out what's behind one of their boldest calls all year. Okay, so let's just start here. 50%. That's the number that just jumps off the page. It's how much Goldman Sachs just raised its 12-month price target for the Chinese AI chip designer Cambricon. Look, a 50% hike is a massive, massive statement. So you have to ask, what on earth did their analysts see that made them so incredibly confident? And here it is, straight from the source. The report makes it crystal clear. This isn't some tiny adjustment, it's a huge vote of confidence. And that really brings us to the central question for this whole deep dive. Why this company and why right now? So that brings us to our first section. We are going to unpack the thinking behind this unbelievably bullish call. And you'll see this is so much more than just numbers on a page. It's a story about tech, about geopolitics, and yeah, a really high-stakes bet on the future. You know, this isn't just about one company's stock price. Understanding Goldman's logic here, it really gives us a window into the powerful forces that are shaping the entire global AI landscape, especially inside China. It's a fascinating look at technology, competition, and just sheer national ambition. To really get this bet, we have to zoom out a little. Cambricon doesn't exist in a bubble. It is a key player in a much, much bigger national story, China's race to build a world-class semiconductor industry. Goldman's whole case is really built on this idea of a perfect storm of factors. First, you've got China's own domestic boom in generative AI, which is creating just this insane demand for computing power. Second, all the geopolitical tensions are pushing Chinese tech giants to find local chip suppliers for security reasons. And third, all of this is being supercharged by a national strategy to become totally self-sufficient in this critical technology. But hey, it's not just about the macro environment. The report drills down and boils Goldman's optimism into three very specific drivers they think will absolutely catapult Cambricon forward. So let's break them down. So, it really comes down to these three things. A huge surge in spending from Chinese cloud companies, a strategic push from those same customers to find secure local suppliers, and Cambricon's own aggressive investment to stay on the cutting edge. Together, these three pillars form the entire foundation of Goldman's bullish case. Let's look at that first pillar, spending. And we're not talking about a small increase here. This is an explosion in what they call capital expenditure, or CAPEX. Basically, how much these companies are spending on hardware. Just look at Tencent, a 119% year-over-year increase in a single quarter. All that cash is going towards building out AI capabilities, creating this huge hungry market for chips. Now, this speaks directly to that second pillar. Cambricon isn't just a potential alternative, it's already a proven one. The report makes a big deal about how its chips have passed compatibility tests for major domestic AI models. And that is a critical milestone because it tells potential customers, hey, you can make the switch and you won't have to sacrifice performance. And finally, we've got the third pillar, R&D. Cambricon isn't just sitting back and riding the wave. They're trying to build a bigger surfboard. The plan to pour nearly 4.5 billion RMB into R&D over the next 3 years, that's a massive statement of intent. It signals to the whole market that they're serious about not just catching up, but actually leading in future chip and software design. Okay, so the story is really compelling, right? A protected market, surging demand, a proven product. But we have to ask the tough question, do the numbers actually add up? Let's decode this valuation and see what Goldman is really forecasting here. And here it is. This is the heart of the financial case. The projected revenue growth is just staggering. After a strong 2024, Goldman is forecasting a 451% jump in revenue for 2025, followed by another triple-digit increase. I mean, this is the kind of exponential growth that really gets Wall Street's attention. But that kind of growth comes with a hefty price tag. Just look at the PE ratio, which is basically a way to measure how expensive a stock is. At 2,553 times its projected earnings, Cambricon looks astronomically expensive next to giants like NVIDIA or AMD. So what's the justification? Well, it's that next line. Goldman is projecting Cambricon's profit growth will be 5, maybe even 6 times higher than its competitors. The bet is that this extreme growth justifies today's extreme valuation. The report is really clear, though. This is a high-stakes bet. In their bull case, if chip shipments keep growing at around 90% a year, the stock could more than double from their new target. But in the bear case, if that growth slows to just 60%, the stock could fall by over a third. The gap between success and failure here is absolutely enormous. No analysis is complete with a solid reality check. And to their credit, the Goldman analysts are very upfront about the major risks that could completely derail this entire story. This is no sure thing, and it is crucial to understand the potential pitfalls. So the report points to three main risks. First, supply. Cambricon is fabless, which just means it designs chips but doesn't actually make them. It relies on partners for that. And because it's on a US trade restrictions list, its access to those partners is a huge vulnerability. Second, if their R&D doesn't keep up, clients will just stick with who they know. And finally, competition could heat up, especially for what are called inferencing chips, where it's a bit easier for new players to jump into the market. So, we've seen the explosive growth story, we've seen the sky-high valuation, and we've seen the critical risks. Let's pull it all together and ask what this really means for the bigger picture. You know, when you boil it all down, Cambricon's story is really the story of China's entire AI strategy in miniature. It's defined by this massive, protected domestic market and a powerful national will to succeed. But at the same time, it's shadowed by these huge challenges, from supply chain issues to geopolitical headwinds. Its fate could really be a bellwether for the country's broader tech ambitions. And so that leaves us with the final multi-billion-dollar question, doesn't it? With everything laid out in this report, from the surging demand to the critical risks, will Cambricon be able to leverage its unique position? Can it truly capitalize on this perfect storm to become China's domestic champion, its answer to a global giant like NVIDIA? The Goldman report makes a powerful case, but, well, only time will tell.